Over the years, China has had a curious history with video gaming. Despite it currently being the largest video game market, it has seen measures put in place to limit video gaming, such as an outright ban on imported games consoles up until around the year 2014. But much more recently, we have increasingly seen the Chinese authorities turn to online games with a specific aim to reducing their predatory practices towards children, with the most recent announcement being over the Christmas period. So for today's video, I have decided to take a look at the recent history of measures that have been introduced in China with regards to online video gaming. And we're going to start off in 2019, which appears to be where this particular movement started, and we'll lead it up to today for a bit of context for you guys. Now, we will also be including some Eve Echoes references in here, but for the most part, if you don't know what Eve Echoes is, don't worry. It is just another online mobile game that is affected by everything that's going on here. So first and foremost, we have this article here, which dates back to 2019. I'm just going to pick up my mouse here. So this one is from The Guardian, and it gives us a brief rundown as to what to expect all the way back in 2019 when they first started introducing all of these rules. So first and foremost, there was if we just highlight this bit here, a 90-minute per day cap on how much people, and specifically under the age of 18, could actually play video games online. So that's 90 minutes per day. And if we go to the weekends, they were allowed a total of 3 hours at the weekend. Now, I don't know about you guys when you were growing up, but 90 minutes a day, that's probably the most I would physically have been able to play games anyway growing up. So 90 minutes at weekdays, 3 hours at weekends, these are quite reasonable numbers. It doesn't really cap anything except for the people who are playing the games a lot more than they should be doing. So this wasn't particularly bad, and it didn't affect all that much. Other rules that came into place around this time was around spending limits. So as we can see down here, there was approximately $29 a month spending limit for those between the ages of 8 and 16. Although it's kind of hard to understand how they'd have money to start with, especially at the age of 8. Again, I'm not all that familiar with things over in China. I don't know how much pocket money they get to spend on video games. But moving along, at the ages of 16 to 18, we have a $57 cap on how much they are allowed to spend per month. In addition, and this is the more important bit here, minors, so anyone under the age of 18, will be required to use their real names and identification numbers to log on to play. Yes, even at the age of 8, it appears that you have an ID number that is at the national level, and you need that to log in to play your games, which is quite interesting. So that's how they actually know how much you're playing a game. So yeah, minors requiring their own real names and identification numbers in order to log in and play means that they can't just play for 1.5 hours a day, then switch accounts to another one and play another hour and a half. They can't do that. They have to log in with their real world ID. Now, somewhere along the lines, because of the prospect of adults just providing their own IDs, it was introduced into mobile games that you need facial recognition software to be able to identify who's playing the game. So you can't have an 8-year-old logging in on his father's account and playing the game. But anyway, yeah, those are most of the rules that were introduced in 2019. They're not all that big, and for the most part, I don't expect it will have affected too many children. But moving along to 2021, things got a little bit more interesting, and here we're moving from The Guardian to CNBC. So moving on to CNBC with this article, China to ban kids from playing online games for more than 3 hours per week. What we can see here is that children are now limited to just 3 hours per week in total. Again, children meaning everybody that's under the age of 18. 3 hours per week, that's it. And those 3 hours are spread across Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, and public bank holidays, or official bank holidays, whatever the official wording is. But yeah, bank holidays. weekends and Fridays to get in your 3 hours. That's not much, is it? And to kind of stab you in the gut a little bit more there, what they also have to contend with is they're only allowed to play for 1 hour per day. If I highlight this bit here, which I can't actually highlight it properly, websites are weird, aren't they? Anyway, as we can see here, they can only play video games for 1 hour a day between the hours of 8 PM and 9 PM. So if for some reason, let's say your evening meal runs over a bit into that 8 PM to 9 PM slot, you can't shift your gaming hour from 9 PM to 10 PM. You're stuck. You can't play your games. So yeah, that's another interesting tidbit right there. So that was the big change that was introduced back in 2021, aimed at children. Now, things were somewhat quiet after 2021. They seemed to be happy with what they'd done, until more recently when an official decided to announce a new string of measures. And this is what's been in the headlines. These new strings of measures were quite eye-opening, and to be honest, it's probably something a lot of you, not all of you, but a lot of you would probably agree with anyway. So, what were these measures? Let's have a look, shall we? So here we go. Here is the meat and potatoes of what happened recently. New draft guidelines released by China's top gaming regulator requires owners of the online games to abstain from providing or condoning high-value or expensive transactions in virtual entities, whether by auction or speculative activity, among other things. So what you're talking about there is whales, okay? In Eve Echoes, and I can only use Eve Echoes as a reference here because that's the only online game I'm ultimately familiar with. In there we have high-value items that you cannot outright purchase. To be able to purchase these items, which could cost around the margin of $300 or 300 Great British pounds, to be able to buy these items, you have to first convert your money into a specific in-game currency, which is designed to obfuscate how much the item actually costs. Then with that currency, you have to engage in speculative activity, whereby you buy a version of a loot box with no guarantee that that item will be in the loot box. But after, say, £300 worth of loot box openings, you are guaranteed that one specific item that loot box is designed around. So that's high value and it's speculative because you still have loot boxes. It doesn't matter if you're buying 300 loot boxes to get a specific reward at the end. You're still buying £300 worth of loot boxes, which is still speculative activity. The next item, and this one you wouldn't think it to be as big a deal, but it kind of is, and that is daily login rewards will also be banned. Now, daily login rewards, they aren't a monetization feature for the most part, but what they're designed to do is keep you addicted, to keep you logging in every day, to make sure that that game is always stuck at the back of your head. So yeah, what we're seeing here is the potential banning of daily login rewards, as per the announcement over the Christmas period. There are also recharging limits, which must be imposed with pop-up warnings issued to users who display irrational consumption behaviour. What that's saying there is whales need to get big warnings saying, you should not be spending this much money on a game. And again, this is in China. It's not targeting the international market. But yeah, it's something to be wary of. So of course they go on to talk about how these new measures do not fundamentally alter the online gaming business model. No, they don't alter the online gaming model. It just shifts it back to where it used to be before all of the predatory practices were put in place. I mean, look at games like EVE Online. I don't play EVE Online, but it survived the test of time, and it started before all of this predatory financing models were put into place. So, of course, one other thing that is not mentioned in this article, but is mentioned further down in this one from a couple of days later, it would also ban online games from forcing players into duels with other players. So this would ban games from forcing you into PvP with other players, mainly because it is that competitive nature with other players that is used in the addictive loop to ensure that people spend money and to get people logging in regularly. So that is a summary of everything so far that we have seen announced. Of course, there will be other things, but without me going directly to the source and using a translator and reading the entire document, that's what we have for now. That's a summary of what to expect coming out of China. But of course, if we go back to the top of this article, we will notice that there was a little bit of a climb down. Tencent Netease shares rebound after Chinese regulators' assurance on new online gaming rules. So what happened is, after all of these rules were published, and bearing in mind they were only draft rules, they weren't law yet, but after these were published to get a feel for how big an impact they'd have, shares fell for both Tencent, NetEase, and a number of other gaming companies based in China. So yeah, as we can see right now, Tencent NetEase shares rebounded after Chinese regulators' assurances on new online gaming rules. Bearing in mind, these rules were not law, they were draft rules that had yet to be formally published. I'm guessing the release of them was more intended to get a feel for how the market would react as a whole. And oh boy, did they react. So yeah, those are the rules that we've seen put forward so far. Now, some of them are good, some of them are bad. Me personally, I like the ideas of some of them, most notably the avoiding high value transactions, making it so that everything you buy in a game is affordable. Because let's be honest, a single high value item in a MMO video game, that's say $300 or $400 or Great British pounds, is it worth that much money? Especially when you could buy say 5 or 6 AAA games for that price, or I don't know, 40 indie games. Personally, I could never bring myself to spend that much money on a video game, not at this particular point in time anyway. But moving on to Eve Echoes, where we have a little bit of cause and effect that we can witness here. If we move across to here, those of you that play Eve Echoes will be somewhat familiar with this. That appeared on the Eve Echoes Discord server a couple of weeks now over the Christmas period. What we saw was this announcement on the Eve Echoes Discord server. And what this announcement essentially was if you want these new login rewards, you have to go to our website now, log in with your in-game credentials on a website, then claim your in-game rewards, your daily login rewards, off of the website, not off of in the game. And it was an experiment. It was a temporary experiment. We've not seen it be re-released or reused since this 7-day period. Me personally, I didn't use it because I'm just too lazy to log into a website in addition to the game. But this is a reaction to what we saw in those news articles. And of course, guess when this particular surprise announcement, this surprise gift box login on a website feature was introduced. According to Discord, it was introduced on the 28th of December, according to what I've got up on my screen right here. The 28th of December. When did these new rules get announced? Let's have a look. They were announced on the 22nd of December. So within 6 days of these new proposed draft rules being released, we saw NetEase trial with one of their games, moving the login rewards from in-game to the website. And what we could possibly see is them just moving all transactions from the game to a website just to bypass it because the transactions are no longer in the game. But again, the Chinese regulators could quite easily just add in an amendment saying including websites linked to the game. Job's a good one. But anyway, that is a summary of everything that's gone on to my knowledge. I've not spent a massive amount of time researching this particular topic, but it was interesting to me, and I've seen it come up in a number of conversations, both in-game and on Discord within the Eve Echoes community. So I figured, why not do a video on this? And in a future video, I'm going to be looking at all of these measures and just ranking them, you know, like a number of other YouTubers tend to do, where you've just got a chart, A, B, C, D, E, and you just put which ones you agree with, which ones you agree with a little, and then the ones you absolutely despise at the bottom. I'm thinking of doing one of those videos, but we'll see how this video works out first off. So thanks again for watching, everyone, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. I need an outro for these, don't I?